Welcome once again to the Single H Show presents Transparenting. My name is Malcolm Jamal Warner. Your name is
Rick Kane.
I don't use my name anymore.
Yeah.
In any way. I actually have made it a gimmick that I change my name every episode out of protection of Single H.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's... Do you know who Malcolm Jamal Warner is?
No.
He was the only Huxtable boy on the Cosby Show.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the actor's real name.
Okay, that's the actor's real name.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that he would be quite offended on being on a podcast that celebrates transgender childhood. I should have said my name was like Marlon Wayans or something like that. Someone who has outwardly expressed celebration of their transgender children. I can't remember. Was it Marlon? It was one of the Wayans brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the younger ones, not one of the older ones. Yeah. Anyway, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. You don't have a clue what's going on.
No.
I need you to help me process something.
Okay.
I need to know, what is it about LGBTQIA+ that makes Christians go bat crazy? But let me build up to it.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm going to let you start processing your thoughts. Once upon a time, there was a really dear mentor in my life. A magnificent mentor. And this mentor sparked in me this understanding of racial injustice. And I need to be very specific. Racial injustice. There was a weekend. The pastor at the church that we both attended said heavily racist things in a sermon. And I'll explain it. I believe I've explained it on a podcast. I know I've shared it with you.
Yeah.
But to spark your memory, the pastor, there was an African-American gentleman that for weeks upon weeks came to church with us. The first Sunday that he wasn't there, the pastor said, we need to get that boy a church with his own people. And that stung to hear. But I was too afraid of Jesus to do anything, and I sit there and I listen to it. Now it's a part of the religious trauma that I deal with as a pastor. So that evening, this dear mentor called me and said, hey, we won't be going back because that racist stuff is just terrible. This person became a very big mentor in my life. He supported me through thinking about going to seminary. I would call in and check in on him. I tried at least once a visit to go to his church to hear him. But over the years, my life has been focused on a different form of injustice in this world, along with racial injustice, gender inequality. I have become very, very out about LGBTQIA+ injustice. As soon as I started that journey, he told me off, and I have not heard from him again. I've reached out in different ways, in letters and emails and so forth. No response. So that's what has gotten into my spirit with this, and why I wanted to have this conversation with you. What is it? Why is LGBTQIA the sin? Why is it the sin? Why is it that I hear people quote Leviticus, that eat bacon cheeseburgers, that wear poly-blended socks, that show no compassion to immigrants, that do everything? They don't go to the grocery store and ask the grocer if their crops were cropped in the same worship season or not. You know,
Yeah.
They don't do anything. But a man should not lay down with another man is the Leviticus verse, even though they do everything else. Okay, I'm done. What is it?
Gosh, it's a really hard answer, hard thing to answer. There's like a bunch of different reasons that it could possibly be. One reason being, like, it's such hardened into, like, everything has to be in a binary. Like, the majority of those people kind of grew up with that it has to be, everything has to be a certain way. And when something does not exist in the way that you want your perfect little life to be, it's scary, and it can, the unknowingness or things being, like, different or, like, kind of misfitty is not, it messes with things and it gets a little scary. That could be one thing.
Okay, so can I respond to that?
Yeah.
So, perfect little white family in South Central Virginia is not black. And they don't understand African American issues.
Yeah.
But they're willing to fight about that. That exists outside of their binary understanding, I would say.
Okay.
Or would you disagree with me on that?
No.
Okay.
Yes and no.
So, in racial equality...
Cause there's also, like... Cause, yeah, that's that, but they're still interacting with, like, black families, and they'll see black people on TV and stuff like that. But, like, kind of back then, you didn't really interact with gay people unless you went to the secret gay bar that nobody knew about.
That exists in my hometown, but nobody knows about.
Yeah.
And I always make the statement that I didn't grow up with any LGBTQ friends, and your mom always says back to me, you didn't know you grew up with LGBTQ friends.
You can, not everybody, but most people feel forced to, or they're able to hide the fact that they're LGBT. You can't hide if you're a different color, if you're a different...
Okay. Go ahead. You can't hide if you're a different...
race.
Yeah. All right, so you've just opened the first door. One of the first defenses, one of the first realities, it's not even a defense, it's a reality, for our LGBTQIA plus siblings is that they're born gay. Well, that can be disputed because everybody's born white or black or what have you. But that's one of the disputes is, well, no, somebody conditioned you to have those feelings.
Somebody conditioned you.
Somebody conditioned you to stand up for African American. Oh my God, please listen to me. If there is any person of color that's listening to this, I am not belittling the necessity of defending people of color. I'm literally trying to process why a very dear mentor of mine opened my eyes to the necessity of speaking out on social justice issues by speaking out for racial equality, but has no heart, has no place in their heart for LGBTQ. Can you help me explain that again in case that there's a person of color listening to this? I'm not saying that people of color don't need to be defended. I'm not saying LGBTQ needs to be defended more. I'm trying to address a singular point that a person that opened my eyes to social justice has no place for LGBTQIA social justice. Okay, there's my thing.
Yeah.
Okay, back to you.
Okay. Another thing it could be was I took a class called Nations and Nationalism, and it discussed nationalism and its place in, like, creating mindsets and culture and stuff like that in societies. And the last week we focused on Christian nationalism. And that has a big part in it. That nations, everybody, you can learn what you want. Nations are not made. They're man-made. And you have to, just like how if you start a business, you need to create rules and structure for your business. Nations have nationalism to create rules and structure and patriotism to keep people believing and liking the nation. And Christian nationalism is one of those forms of nationalism, and it creates the mindset of I would attribute it to like a 1950s picturesque TV family where mom stays at home and does stuff and dad goes to work and things like that, and there's a cross on the wall and you'll go to church and you date your high school crush and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that kind of mindset makes everything else that doesn't fit that perfect 50s look is bad and evil, and it's there to mess up your society. And if it's not like that anymore, then the nation falls apart.
So it becomes a nationalism of a belief.
Yeah.
You're not a good American if you don't believe in this, much less a real Christian. You're not a good American unless you believe this.
Yes.
So
And not every Christian nationalist is going to church every Sunday, but it becomes so tied together that it gets intertwined with each other.
That is a very fair statement. There are a lot of Christian nationalists that say that you have to go to this specific church and you have to believe in this specific way. That Christian nationalism has infected Christianity so much that individuals that don't go to church still hold those ideals and hold them against other people. That is a fair assessment that you just made. So let me pick at that as much as I did about the Levitical passages a minute ago. Let's talk about Ozzie and Harriet all the way into the 1950s. Let's talk about Ward and June Cleaver all the way into the 1950s. Okay. A husband and a wife married, 2.3 children. That third of a child living a very hurt life.
Yeah.
Only being a torso and a mouth. But that's the ideal. But guess what still existed in the 1950s? Gay people, but even past that, cheating on your wife existed in the 1950s.
Yeah.
Going out and drinking and coming home and being an abusive husband wildly existed in the 1950s. You know what else existed in the 1950s? Family incest. So where is the fight against that ideal?
That ideal isn't paid attention to. The ideal is like it's an ideal. It's a idea. It's not what actually is. It's the I can't think of a word other than ideal. Like it's the
blueprint.
The not nostalgia.
It is a nostalgia.
But maybe nostalgia. Yeah. It's nostalgia. The ideal. The whole. Well, this podcast is political.
This whole thing, there's no tightrope anymore.
Yeah, there isn't. The whole "Make America Great Again" thing. It's like the ideal of what they like grew up on and what they want it to return to. But because they don't think about how it actually is. Yeah. All the really bad stuff that was going on, they think of the ideal. What's the Happy Days?
Happy Days.
Yeah.
The 1950s, 60s, or late 50s.
Yeah.
Greasers and sock ops and stuff.
Yeah.
So making America great again means white men get to do everything that they want to do, and anybody of color, any minority, anything that sets outside of the own gets punished for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we also have to brush under the blanket Christian nationalism, other things that existed in the Make America Great Again era is that Christian nationalism still lives into, but won't admit it. We have to admit that the Ku Klux Klan is an outreach of Christianity.
There's a episode of The West Wing. It's the first episode of season 3. I can't remember. It's Isaac and I think it's called Isaac and Ishmael is the name of the episode. But it was made after after 9/11 happened. They immediately made this episode to go out before the rest of season 3 was supposed to go on.
Uh-huh.
And in it, one of the characters, Josh Myleman, is in. There's a lockdown in the White House, and he's in the kitchen area with a bunch of high school kids from Presidential Classroom, and they're just talking about everything that's happening. And he says, the Islamic extremist is to Islam as blank is to Christianity, and the kids had to guess what it was, and it was KKK is to Christianity.
And the extremist wing of Christianity right now is evangelical Christian nationalist. And they have infiltrated everything. I am currently attending civic gatherings in a red pocket that one megachurch in the area has got their hands in deep. They've got their hands in deep in City Hall. And it's really, truly corrupting what faith is. Yeah.
Because the loudest voice, that's the most damaging voice, is the loudest. And because of that, everybody who's like, I'm also Christian, but I'm not like that.
Yeah.
But when you say, oh, I am... Like, I think about this too when I see people kind of uber American, just like in their patriotism. I'm like, oh, I don't know if you're cool or not. It's kind of like that when you say, oh yeah, I go to church every Sunday. It's kind of like, oh, like...
I don't know about you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you make that statement that they're uber American and I don't know about you. I went to a gathering, a civic gathering, and there was a guy there standing with an American flag. And what does it say about America that I immediately am on a watchful defense of the guy holding a banner of my nation? I'm already weary and questioning the guy holding an American flag. What does it say about this country that it's gotten to that place? So, yeah. So that's just what I have been completely heartbroken lately because I've been on this Dear Friends Facebook page and it just hurts to see Christian nationalistic crap that's on there.
Yeah.
And it hurts. It hurts that I know that I have family that exists within this Christian nationalistic crap. Especially that I'm sitting out every day defending single age to the extent I am. And I now have family members that I will never talk to again. I just won't. And it sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just don't get it. I really, what? And for some, and here's the other end. Okay, God bless. What is it with the people that are pro-LGBTQ but not people of color? It works both ways.
Yeah.
But this is a LGBTQ podcast, and I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with. But it does work both ways. Why? What is it that makes anything so radically different that you'll defend with your might something else, but not them too?
It's hard. It's the extreme lack of like empathy is crazy. I think I'm a very empathetic person, and it's hard for me to interact with somebody who isn't like that, who doesn't have any empathy.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like solidarity with other people. Just like, even if like you're not going through the exact same thing that they're going through, like you might be struggling in a different way, and just like that lack of empathy and solidarity is like, it's hard.
So I did something this week. The people that are really listening to the podcast know I've decided through Advent, I'm not backing off. If anybody says anything on a post that I put up, I'm answering it. And I'm exhausted from that.
Yeah.
Physically exhausted from it. But I did something the other day just to see. I put up a post that talked about how much restricted the rights are of all female people in the United States. And I did this for two reasons. I wanted to see who responded to it, and I also wanted to see how much of it that they're reading.
Yeah.
So, to the person, the first part of my assumptions were true. 99% of the responses have come from
conservatives. Oh, Christian nationalists.
Gender, please.
Oh, men.
Men. They have come from men. The 99% of the responses have come through men.
Yeah.
And they are just there making their points. So I've written back, oh, this is great. I would like to thank all of the men for showing the misogynistic point that this is. And then I that's what I said. And then all the men kept making their points as if they didn't read it. So I said again, hey, gang, look at the faces and the icons. Please see who has a problem with this statement. 99% men. Still no response. Somebody brought up to me a point that I responded to, and then after that I responded, and everyone please continue to look at the continued misogynistic responses, even after now the third time I've pointed out that this is happening. So I don't get it.
It's hard. I don't understand it either. And I don't know what environment they grew up in. I don't know if they're probably I don't know exactly, like really insecure and that they're quote not man enough because they've been told you gotta be a super macho dude or else you're like weak or whatever, and they're really insecure about that they didn't grow up in the environment that you grew us up in, of being empathetic towards others and like understanding and like having solidarity with them. Yeah.
Oh God, don't read into the next thing I say.
Okay.
Or read into it.
Okay.
They were raised to become John Wayne.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the I've watched a couple of John Wayne movies, but if I'm gonna say it, like the mascot of the Christian nationalists isn't Jesus, it's John Wayne.
Yeah. And everything that an individual comes back about that I read is so anti-Christ.
Yeah.
It's painful. But I am the pedophile witch that's trying to groom children.
Yeah. I'll say it once, I'll say it again. Jesus Christ is my favorite social justice leader.
Yeah.
And I've seen people, I don't know, they kind of make kind of jokes like this a lot. They just said like, everybody's waiting for the second coming of Jesus Christ. He already came, you're just not going to let him in.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, and you're not going to listen to what he says.
And they're not going to like him because as soon as this Israeli comes to them talking to them about how they're doing things wrong, that's going to become all pro-America, and they would kick Jesus Christ out of their church. Yeah. So the other challenge that I'm dealing with, and I'm coming hard in 2025, and that is I'm going to the new school board at our place, and I'm going in there to share a message of compassion and support for them to do what's right. And I cannot miss the first meeting because it's the first meeting with the first new board, and I absolutely have to be there because it makes sense to say, hey, you guys are a new board. I'm here to support you, and I'm also here to say I hope you support every student.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'm walking in a 4-to-1 room, and it's going to be scary. It's going to be really scary. But that's what I do, and it really hurts me that one of the people that opened my eyes to social justice doesn't see it. They don't see where that they've limited themselves. Yeah. And it fucking hurts. Thank you for saying something that you shared. That you were raised in a house with compassion and caring for other people. Thank you for saying that. Your mom's tried hard to do that, and she's put in a lot of effort for you guys. And
Yeah, you grew me up on wrestling and Batman and Superman.
you got all the superheroes down.
I got-
You've learned the compassion and everything from your mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're the crazy California liberal family that,
Yep.
yeah,
Wear it on a sleeve.
wear it on a sleeve. All right, I just needed to speak about this out loud for a little bit. Thank you for participating in this conversation. That was, once again, the Single H Show presents Trans Parenting. Your name is
Rick Cade, your name is.
Tempest Bonet. Have a week.